For anyone who does want to get involved in research, what would you recommend they do to get involved? How should they go about that?
Yeah, oh, what a great question. I think that it can be intimidating. You may not want to talk with a professor, but I think the professors at URI are very approachable, and most of them are really interested in undergraduate research. So I think the best thing to do is to go onto a faculty member's website. So if you go onto my website, you can see my latest projects. You can look at the publications that I've done, and you can read the titles, and you can see if that's interesting, and you can look at my research background. If you think that that research is interesting, or you think another faculty member's research is interesting, the best thing to do is to just email that professor or see them after a class if you take a class with them, and ask if they have any availability or any room in the lab for the semester, and probably set up a phone call, a Zoom chat, a way to talk about potential projects. I think that's the best way to go about it. And likely what will be happening is you will work with either a graduate student, maybe even another undergraduate student, or a postdoc, or someone else in the lab. You may not do a lot of direct work with what's called the principal investigator, the faculty member, him or herself, or themselves.
And just in terms of expectations, like what an undergraduate researcher would be doing in the lab, you kind of touched upon it, but who they'll be working with, what they'll be doing, supervision, that kind of a thing.
So supervision is key, and safety is key.
Mhm.
So we want to train undergraduates to be obviously as safe as possible, wearing all the proper protective gear, especially in chemistry, where you may be working with volatile or dangerous chemicals. We need to be 100% certain on safety. So you likely will not be working, at night by yourself. You'll be working under the supervision of a graduate student or a postdoc researcher in the lab. Expectation wise, the graduate students in my lab have helped with processing samples. So often we may have many, many extracts. Those extracts need to be fractionated using chromatography. And so those undergraduate students will process the samples, or they may carry out an assay. I usually try to give undergraduates a contained kind of bite-sized project, that they can really sink their teeth into, and that they're not overwhelmed. So like one clear directive, to do, or maybe two. And then usually they're coming to the graduate students or to me once we get into like the mass spec and the NMR, because these are techniques that take kind of years of training to really understand. And so at that point, it becomes more of a teaching approach from me and the rest of the lab. So we try not to put, pressure, too much pressure on our undergrads, but we really value their contributions, and we value their time, because that's really what it is. It's that time that allows us to push the research forward. And we hope that, the quid pro quo there is for their time and for their efforts, they're getting really good training that's going to help them in the job market, and they're getting academic credit as well.
All right, awesome.
Well, thanks, Isabel. I really appreciate it. This
Yeah,
was
thank
great.
you. Thank you for your time.
Okay, awesome.